Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving into a thought experiment that's both fascinating and a little bit terrifying. What if a popular YouTuber, known for her very distinct brand of political and social commentary, was given the power to design a city from scratch? We're talking about none other than June, better known as shoeonhead. Imagine a metropolis for 500,000 people, built entirely in her image. What would it look like? How would it function? And most importantly, would you want to live there? Let's call this hypothetical city. The first thing to consider is the core ideology. Based on her content, Shoeville would likely be a strange and wonderful fusion of social democracy and libertarian-lining principles. Think robust social safety nets funded by... well, that's the first big question. Maybe a high tax on corporations and the ultra-wealthy, but minimal income tax for the average citizen. She often champions the working class. So you can bet that unions would have a powerful presence, and workers' rights would be enshrined in the city charter. The minimum wage would probably be a living wage indexed to the local cost of living, which, by the way, would be a major focus of the city's planning. Now, let's talk about the physical layout of forget sprawling, car-dependent suburbs. June has expressed a fondness for walkable cities and efficient public transport, so Shoeville would be dense with mixed-use zoning. Picture charming, European-style city blocks where apartments are situated above cafes, bakeries, and small, locally owned shops. No Walmarts or massive corporate chains dominating the landscape here. Instead, it would be a haven for small businesses. The entire city would be interconnected by a state-of-the-art network of trams, subways, and dedicated bike lanes. Owning a car wouldn't be necessary, and it might even be discouraged through high parking fees and congestion charges. The goal is a greener, more community-focused environment. What about the culture and social life? This is where things get really interesting. Shoeville would undoubtedly have a vibrant and perhaps chaotic public square. Freedom of speech would be paramount. Expect to see people from all walks of life passionately debating everything under the sun. It would be a place where differing opinions aren't just tolerated, they're actively encouraged. The city's motto might as well be, argue with your neighbor, then go get a beer with them. Speaking of which, the nightlife would be legendary. Countless pubs, dive bars, and music venues would line the streets, all serving affordable drinks. The city would probably subsidize local arts and music, ensuring a thriving creative scene that isn't just for the wealthy. Education and healthcare would be cornerstones of Shoeville society. Following the social democratic model, both would likely be universal and publicly funded. Top-tier schools and hospitals accessible to everyone, regardless of their income. The curriculum might have a strong emphasis on civics, critical thinking, and media literacy, teaching kids how to spot grifters and propaganda from a young age. Higher education would be free or extremely low cost, aiming to prevent a generation from being saddled with crippling student debt. This investment in human capital would be seen as the primary driver of the city's long-term success and innovation. But every utopia has its potential downsides. What would be the challenges in the bureaucracy required to manage all these public services could become massive and inefficient. The city's libertarian streak might clash with its social democratic systems. For example, how do you regulate businesses to protect workers and the environment without stifling the free market? She also seems to appreciate there would be endless debates in the city council, which would probably be live-streamed 24/7 for maximum public scrutiny and drama. And let's be honest, the aesthetic of the city might be unique. Would every public statue be a crying soy jack? Would the national anthem be a Blink-182 song? The possibilities are both hilarious and slightly alarming. Let's consider the economy in more detail. Shoeville's economic engine would be built on the back of the little guy. Policies would favor worker co-ops and small to medium-sized enterprises over multinational corporations. There might be a city-owned venture capital fund specifically for startups that agree to ethical labor practices. The biggest industries? Given June's interests, perhaps a massive gaming and software development sector, a booming craft beer and distillery industry, and, of course, a world-class media production hub for aspiring YouTubers and political commentators. The city would actively fight against the gig economy model, ensuring that most jobs come with benefits, paid time off, and long-term security. Now, let's look at law and order. Shoeville would likely take a reformist approach to criminal justice. There would be a focus on rehabilitation over punishment, with investments in mental health services, addiction treatment, and job training for former inmates. Police would be demilitarized and focused on community policing. Non-violent drug offenses would probably be decriminalized, with resources shifted towards public health solutions. However, there would be zero tolerance for corporate malfeasance and political corruption. The punishment for a CEO who pollutes a river or a politician who takes a bribe would be severe, making them public enemy number one. It would be a society that's lenient on personal vice, but harsh on abuses of power. So, the big question remains. Would Shoeville work? Could this eclectic mix of policies and cultural quirks create a functional, thriving city for 500,000 people? In many ways, it has an idealized vision of a city that tries to take the best parts of different ideologies while discarding the worst. The biggest challenge would be human nature itself. Could a population really sustain that level of constant political engagement and debate without fracturing? Could the economy truly thrive without the scale and efficiency of large corporations? It's hard to say. It would be a grand, messy, and loud experiment. A city that's constantly arguing with itself, but is also fiercely protective of its own. In conclusion, a city built in the image of shoeonhead would be anything but boring. It would be a dense, walkable, and affordable metropolis with a powerful social safety net, a reverence for free speech, and a deep-seated suspicion of corporate and governmental overreach. It would be a city of pubs, parks, and public squares, where the common person is king and the powerful are held to account. It might be chaotic, it might be contradictory, but it would be a city with a soul, a place built on the belief that a better, fairer, and more interesting world is possible. It's a fascinating concept to ponder. So, what do you think? Would you pack your bags and move to Shoeville? What aspects do you think would work? And what do you think would be a complete disaster? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your take on this. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this little thought experiment, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. It really helps us out. Until next time, stay curious and take care.